everybody, and welcome back to the Migrant Hope channel. I'm your host Charlene, and in this video I'm going to be sharing the 5 main things that you need to do, you must do if you want to pass FAR on your first time. I hope this is helpful, and let me know if you have any questions or any concerns. Hopefully I'll be able to answer all of them, and stay tuned for the rest of the video. Thank you. So guys, here we are. So the first thing I would say is, and I suggest this to everybody, is give yourself enough time to study. This exam, FAR in itself, is, first of all, it's hard, it's long, and it's just very bulky. So I would always say give yourself enough time to study. There's no need to rush over this test and then you're not able to pass, or you're not successful on the first try. A lot of times when many of us don't pass is because we rush through the material, considering that it is 10 lectures. So I would really encourage you, you definitely need as much time as you think would make more sense for you. For example, I studied I did 2 months of studying, really 2 months, mostly I did September, October, and part of November, and I found that that was very helpful. Now, intentionally, was I trying to do 2 months? No, but it just happened that way based off of like what was going on in my personal life at the time. So I ended up having to do 2 months. If you're a full-time parent, if you're a full-time employee, if you work somewhere, if you work for yourself, I highly suggest that you really pace yourself. Honestly, guys, like, there's no benefit in just rushing and then going to the exam and you don't feel prepared, you feel like you don't know enough. So I really encourage you to really take your time and make sure that you're actually understanding all the information and you're getting all that you need to get. So don't rush through the test, take as much time. I say 2 months for everybody. Now, if you're a really quick learner, you may need less than that, but honestly, the average person, the average Joe, the average Charlene would need at least 2 months. So take your time when you need to study for this test. So the next thing is actually reading through the text. Now, I have my audit book with me here, and it's huge. This is audit, right? This is not even FAR, and the FAR one is much bigger than this. I'm pretty sure audit, I honestly don't remember how many chapters are in this book, but definitely it's a lot. So I would highly recommend that you actually read through the text. Many of the times when we do the multiple choice questions, they just ask us those questions, and of course if we get it wrong, we go back to the textbook and refer to see exactly where we made that mistake. But when you read through the lines, you actually pick up on a little bit of nuggets, and you pick up on things that you would not necessarily have picked up on if they were not asked in the questions. One thing that I always think about is the people who actually write these books, whether it happened to be that I have the Becker one, but if I had Gleim, if I had Yeager, CPA, Roger, it doesn't matter. The books are thick because it's material that you need to know, because there is a very high possibility that you would find those you could possibly find a question on those things in your exam. So you don't want to be in a place where you're rushing through, which goes back to point 1, where take your time so that you can actually read through everything. One thing that I did when I studied was I watched all the lectures, I read all the chapters for each of the textbooks, and then I did the multiple choice questions and the simulations, because I found out that I needed enough time. So I would give myself a week for each lecture and just take my time. If it was a chapter where it was a lot longer, I'll give myself 10 days, but not longer than 10 days, so that I'm able to go through and read it. And of course, this will go with your time management skills, your work schedule, just everything that you have going on. But I think on average, it's very important to definitely read between the lines and read the textbook. This, I know it's accounting and it's not necessarily like a blog post or like like a magazine or something, but I think it's very necessary, because at the end of the day, if this is something you want and you want to pass, you kind of have to do it, unfortunately. Now, the third thing I would say is I highly encourage everybody to take at least one practice exam before you go sit for the test. Now, taking the practice exam doesn't mean just sitting there and just taking the test. I want you to actually carve out 4 hours of your time on one day where you seem to have a lot less going on that day, and just sit down, take the full test, take it with the breaks, take it as though you're taking a prometric, so that way you're able to pace yourself, because sitting for 4 hours, concentrating and having your brain think for that long, it's not very easy. And yes, you say, oh, 4 hours I could do that, but when you're actually there at the center, remember that you're also nervous, there's a lot of pressure going on at the same time. So it is very necessary that you sit down and just try to buckle down and take it. What I usually did is I I always took my practice exams 2 weeks before. So I did one in my 2-week review, which I'll talk about next, and then the second one during the last week before I take my test. Always I did that for all the parts, and I passed all the parts. And for FAR, I passed FAR on the first try. This was my first exam, so I'm pretty sure, you know, I'm not an expert, but I kind of know what I'm talking about. I really highly recommend it. The fourth thing I would mention is you have to take 2 weeks to review. Guys, I know people who have taken 5 days, people who have taken a week, people who have taken much shorter than that. I really think 2 weeks is very vital and very key to your success in this exam, because in those 2 weeks you'll be able to go through all your multiple choice, you go through the simulations, you'll be able to get the chance to be able to take those practice exams without rushing yourself. Guys, FAR is not a joke. If you have taken it once and not passed, you know that it's not funny. Like, it's not cute to take this test more than once. So you want to actually be very diligent about what you're doing, you know. Try to take at least 2 weeks. When you plan out your study schedule, make sure that you give yourself enough allowance to be able to study. I know that majority of us need more time, so that's why I recommend 2 weeks. If you're one of the top A's, the people who get like the huge scholarship for the exam, you know, you may not need that much time, but I don't know, guys. I'm just telling you, giving you my 2 cents, which I think are key and vital, and I definitely think you'll need it. And the last and fifth point is, please do not underestimate non-for-profit and non-governmental. That is a huge part of the exam. I know when many of the CPA courses that we take, like I have Becker, I had used Roger at some point, and then I also used I think Wiley CPA. Yes, that was the other one I used. So, you know, they tell us, yeah, non-for-profit and governmental, it's those 2 chapters, it's not a lot, but many of us have actually not taken those classes when we were in school. Like when I was studying for it, I had not even taken a non-governmental class, but it is, you can teach yourself. Like, that's literally what I did. I carved out 2 weeks or 2.5 weeks, and I just took my time, just made sure I understood the concepts and really what it was about. Hope this information was helpful, and these are just 5 quick things that I think if you do this, and if you're very conscious and very consistent, which is key when you're studying for this exam, I do not doubt, I have no doubt in my body, spirit, soul, whatever, that you're going to be successful at it. I hope this video was very helpful to you guys. Make sure to share with your family members, friends, anyone who you know is studying for this exam, and I hope this is helpful. Thank you so much and have a good day.